All right. Well, and just restart the intro here. With Jim out today, I'm gonna kind of go over the update with the BELP program. We're utilizing the ISA, and I've been revamping the flow of how leads are handled with the ISA, and identified a couple holes that we need to plug to make sure leads are getting worked properly. So I put together this flow chart to help make visually make it a little easier to understand, hopefully, or make it harder depending on how well you read flow charts. um, so new lead comes in, you want to make sure it's set up on a smart campaign and has the proper alert set. If it does, and then if the lead responds to a text, email, or you talk to them on the phone, that's where if they don't haven't responded, then they stay as a new lead. So it just kind of stays in this little loop until they respond to something. Once they respond, then they're moved to an active lead. But then it depends on if the response was positive, negative, or neutral. And I classify those, positive response is a lead responds by answering questions. They start providing the 5 pertinent pieces of information, which I'll talk about. Basically they haven't done anything negative. You'll keep them as a positive response. And by doing that, you're keeping them in that active lead status. For negative, the types of responses, those would be if they are a realtor. The way to look at negative is if you have zero chance of ever selling them a home. So if they are a realtor, you're not going to sell them a home. If they've unsubscribed from both text and email, you're not going to be able to sell them a home. So they'd go archive. If they're not buying in the area, but then in that case, you actually want to try to refer them to an EXP agent. So usually using the EXP referral network. And but still, you go ahead and move them to archive because we don't want to be dripping on them. If the lead's rude, obscene, just total a-hole you don't want to deal with, you can archive them. Or if both the email and phone number are bad, then you can archive them as well. If the response is what I call neutral, which neutral is basically, lead's just not ready to talk with an agent right now. They haven't unsubscribed from both email and text. Sometimes they might unsubscribe from text, but the email is still good. So it's still okay to keep them as a prospect there. If they're working with another agent, you can go ahead and put them as prospect because there's a chance that they might not, the agent might drop the ball and then might be able to swoop in. If they're a little bit further out, like 1 year out or more, you can put them to prospect status. Basically it's gonna be a little bit lighter drip on them, not as aggressive as the other drips. So they're still getting stuff from you. It's just a little bit lighter, so they don't get overwhelmed. And then if they already bought a house, kind of same thing, that basically means they're probably 5-7 years out, but it's okay to kind of keep, do that, have a little bit of a drip going. If they're unresponsive, so if they were inactive and you're having a conversation with them, but then they kind of ghost you after nudging them a few times, if they still haven't responded, then you can just move them to prospect. And I'll go over that in a little bit more detail shortly. So yeah, multiple temps, or if it's a rental, you can go ahead and put them as a prospect as well. Obviously, you try and flip them to see if they want to buy, and find out why they want to rent instead of buy. A lot of times, credit issues, stuff like that, and you can try and get them in credit repair. But at some point they could turn into a client, so that's why you'd put them as a prospect and not archive them. So when working the active leads, basically, you're trying to get what I call the 5 pertinent pieces of information, which is the price, location, time frame, financing, and if they're working with a realtor. And the financing part, you're wanting to find out if they're pre-approved yet. If they're not, then you're getting them over to Mike, get the app over and do that process that we've got talked about. If they are already pre-approved, you definitely want to try and see if they'd like a second opinion to shop rates, look at loan programs, stuff like that, and try and get them over to Mike that way. Or they could be a cash buyer, in which case you probably want to get a proof of funds at some point. So basically, you're continuing to ask those pertinent pieces of information. Gypsy, I don't know who that is. Hopefully that's a legitimate person. You're always trying to get the pretzels. You're always trying to get the those 5 pertinent pieces of information, and while you're doing that, you're keeping them in this active status. And once you basically get all those pieces of information, get them pre-approved and all that, at that point, they're a client of yours. Now, I accidentally left this in that's when if the ISA is working it, that's when they would hand the lead off to the agent, the pre-approved buyer lead. In your case, if you're working the lead yourself, then you just move them to client lead status, keep the lead. When it goes in contract, you move it to contract. When it goes to close, you move it to close. So, that's kind of the flow chart, how to work the leads. Most of the magic really is happening over in here with these active leads. And basically I put together like a daily task list of what, as an agent, you should be doing. And also the ISA is doing on a daily basis. So obviously, lead comes in, you accept the lead, you're making that, new lead phone call right away. So you hit 1 and get connected to the lead. And then task 2 is respond to texts and emails. So, as the smart campaigns are dripping on them with emails and texts, some of them are informational, and some of them are trying to get a response out of the lead. So if the lead responds to something, you want to be able to respond back and get a conversation going. So that's where you want to respond to any texts and emails that the lead has done, so that you can get that conversation going. So one of the problems is, if the lead responds at 9 a.m., but then you don't respond back until 3 p.m., at that point, lead's not looking at real estate anymore, like online. They went and, are at work or whatever. So the sooner that you can respond to a lead when they respond to a text or something, the better, so you can keep that conversation going.
And Chris, to point out to that, an internet lead, they're not loyal yet. You know what I mean? So if they're on the internet, you are not the only one that they're probably talking to, because they're clicking on realtor.com, they're clicking on Zillow. So it's a must to respond to them almost immediately. And when you're talking to them about your property, remind them you can help them with any other property they're looking at too on the other sites.
Yep.
But also to point on that, the statistics that 75 to 78% of all consumers start the buying process online. That's the whole premise behind getting the co-branded mobile apps to the client right away. Get them off the internet, off their PC, and using their cell phone with all the tools, the tech, the calculator, the access to you, the access to us. That's the game changer. Get them back to their cell phone.
Yep. So, typically there's not going to be a ton of responses that you have to deal with. And if you're dealing with them as they come in, then so basically, task 2 shouldn't take too long. And then so you get to task 3, which is check your active leads. This is probably one of the most important ones that we haven't really focused on yet up to this point, but really should, because these are the ones that are responding to your, that have responded to text, email, or phone call, and that you're starting to, have those conversations with. But what often will happen is, you get a conversation going, and then the lead, doesn't respond back to your last text, and then you aren't, basically you forget about them, and then the lead gets lost because, that conversation doesn't keep going. So I've been working on a way to help get those leads re-engaged, so you don't like lose them. And let me see which one this is. This is my admin account. I'm gonna pull up pull up the ISA one real quick. Hopefully there's nothing bad on there. KB core. We're in the process of getting all the leads caught up in the ISA count, so I can mass pump in more leads to work. But so basically, like on her account, I created a smart filter. I call it ISA check active leads, but all it is just a filter that pulls up all your active leads. And real simple to do. I can create a separate video, but you want to pull up all your active leads, and then every day you want to go through and start with the first one. See how many we got in here right now, 45. So you click on the first one, and you just want to look at your last conversation and see where you left off. So and typically then also leave a note up here as well. So yeah, I'm not gonna, yeah, we have the notes up here, makes it easier to know where you left off. So I'm not 100% sure where we're at with that one. I don't want to spend a bunch of time digging on it. Okay, so here, receive text message. I'd like to see, campground on Friday. So at that point, it's still an active lead. So that was yesterday. So today, Krista will, when she's going through this, she'll see this and then respond to the lead to keep that conversation going. So then, she'll send a text response and then move to the next one. Yeah. And so one of the things we've been doing too is copy and pasting in a note, location, price, time frame, financing, and realtor. So to kind of remind you, those are the pieces of information you're trying to find out. So like, so like this one, they've been going back and forth trying to get a phone call going. So same thing today, she'll reach out and try and get that going again. And then literally you're just going through every single one every day that are active and just seeing what you need to do. This one, responded to a positively if, they're set up on a search, they said they are, and then, that's where, you continue the conversation. You want to start asking about, oh, great, what areas are you thinking about buying in? Or, I can update your search. What locations should I include in the search and stuff like that? So that's when you want to start going and asking, these questions to keep that conversation going. So once you, send a text response there, you go to the next one. So like this one, they're looking for rental. So, when she responds to that, she'll, I'd probably, oh yeah, for a month of February in Hilton Head. Yeah. So, something like that, you might be able to hop on the referral. EXP referral. You know, we don't do a lot with rentals, you know, places like Hilton Head, there might be agents that do. So you know, respond to that one, move to the next one. And obviously, you know, with Chris's account, there's a lot more right now, so there's a lot more actives to you know, power through. But and then one of the things you're also doing along the way, you know, I'm gonna skip through towards the bottom here, is you're processing the leads where to find, you know, some of them, you know, so like this one doesn't have a phone number, and you know, it's got an email, so yeah, they probably asked to be removed or you know, something like that. So typically what I'll do is if they unsubscribe from text, or if the phone number is bad, or you know, if they say I don't want, you know, not interested or whatever with the phone part, that's when I'm going to move them over to prospects. Yes. And then the prospect is going to add them to a prospect campaign, which is, you know, it's got some light text and emails. Now, because there's no phone number, it's not going to text them, obviously. I don't know what this test one is. I'll remove it. But the key is when you move it to prospect, you don't have to deal with it anymore. The system is going to touch them for you. And if they ever respond to something, then you got to, you know, they'll show up in that text responses. So, you know, at this point, you don't have to deal with them anymore. And they're not going to show up as active, because the key is you want to clear out the actives and only have good active leads in your active status. So here's a good one. She answers, said she was has no questions and was just looking. So, you know, if you go back to the flat flow chart, if they're not interested right now, you know, you can always probe a little bit, you know, say something like, no problem, if you like, I can modify your home search. What areas should I include? You know, stuff like that. And then, you know, so basically I would, you know, at that point when she responded, I would have sent that text. And then, but since she's not really interested right now, I would just move her to prospect. And then, you know, if she responds back, then keep that conversation going. If she doesn't, then the system's going to be, you know, doing the touches. So it's not, you know, sucking up any of your time. You know, you want to make sure they still have the search alert, and yeah, just move on to the next one. The key is you want to just find the active ones and have the good conversations with those going. Same with this, no questions, just browsing. So at that point, I'm just going to, you know, move them to prospect. Again, if this, you know, this happened a week ago, if it happens right now that they just said, you know, like texted back today, oh, not interested, just looking, just browsing, I would, you know, before moving them to prospect, I would have responded back, no problem. If you like, I can get modify, update your automated home search. What areas should I include in that search, or you know, something like that? Just to, you know, try and keep the conversation going, let them know you're there to help, and it's okay if they're not ready to buy right now. They may not reply back, that's okay. The system will touch them because they're in prospect
Hey, Chris,
status. Yep.
I think this group, how when you look at your chart, like your charts on how well they're doing, this group probably is doing relatively well.
Mm-hmm.
My thoughts are with the new ISA program, if we can touch base on that a little bit.
Sure.
This group obviously would get priority, meaning the people that are working your leads, also not just looking for the ISA handouts. They're going to get obviously first dibs and stuff. I know that we had some disconnect. Is there any way you can show who has filled out that form, or at least cover on here? Has Chantel filled it out? Has Tanisha filled it out? I know I missed that. I got to fill out mine. I just want to make sure they've got their forms filled out.
Right.
And then are we going to, what's the thought process on that once I know we're still getting it up and getting it running and tweaking it as we go. Are you just going to, will those BELP participants that just want those ISA, will they be a part of this group? Or are you just going to plug it into the Ohio group? Like, hey, we have a lead at 50% referral in Lancaster or something like that. How do you see that moving?
Yeah, so I will have a lead rotation roster basically on a Google spreadsheet, and next to it we'll have like the agent's name, what areas that they service, what price points they service, and stuff like that. And so the ISA will basically just go down that list, and so whoever's next, they'll say Krista gets a 400K Delaware County lead, pre-approved, and is ready to hand it off. She'll see who's next on the list and see, okay, does this agent service Delaware 400K? If they do, then boom, that agent gets the handoff. And then they'll move to the bottom of the list once
That
the
that
lead's handed off.
that handoff, we came up with the system that Krista's going to send a text message, right? Like, because we want to make sure that we're not just handing it off and then counting on that person with no accountability of call. It should be they
Yeah,
respond, yes, I want it. Yes, I can take a call right now or something like that,
right.
right?
Yeah, so when Krista identifies she's handing a lead off, identifies the agent, the next agent that she's handing it off to, she'll reach out to that agent, say, hey, I got a Delaware 400K lead that's pre-approved, ready to buy in 2 months. Do you want it? Is kind of like the first question, and yeah, I want it. Great. Are you available for the handoff right now?
The
If
call
they're
right now.
and the handoff can happen in one of the three ways. One is Krista would do a three-way text between the agent and the buyer, introducing the agent to the buyer, or it could be like a three-way phone call
Mhm.
or a three-way Zoom call. So a lot of that, might be dependent on the buyer themselves, their preference for communication.
Yep.
But the key is the agent needs to be available like fairly immediately, if not right then and there, to be able to take the handoff. If the agent's, I can't, you know,
I think it's okay for us to come up with for a guideline
mhm,
that you don't return the text within 5 minutes, or even, you know what I mean? If you don't return that, because that's the way Op City is, theirs is immediate. If you don't
yeah,
text in 5 minutes, we will move on to the next person. And you have to be able to return that call within 5 minutes. And we can talk to our agents, because here's the thing, even with Op City, if I take that call, that's an immediate pass through. I might be in the middle of a freaking closing or something, but I've got the script down where I at least say hi to him. I introduce myself. I apologize that I'm in the middle of a meeting. Is it okay if I call you right back in about an hour? That type of connection has to happen. And if they can't commit to it, then it just needs to go to the next agent.
right,
I think it's okay to have those exact guidelines, not even, we'll leave them, instead of leaving it, they need to do it quick, or we'll have timelines to it.
yeah. So yeah, Krista, and she'll be the one, quarterbacking it, making sure that as part of her role is to make sure that both the agent and the lead are in contact with each other. And then once that handoff occurs, then the agent's going to be responsible to update the ISA once a week as to the status of the lead. Like, are you showing homes? Are you have you looked at homes? Stuff like that. So basically keep us all in the loop where you guys are. If something happens where they stopped responding, stuff like that, then the ISA can go back and try and find out what happened, get that conversation going again, and stuff like that. So
Okay.
but then so yeah, that's why it's important that you fill out that form, so that we know what your there we go, what option you want to do, whether you want to do both Option 3, which is both, working the leads yourself and receiving the pre-approved leads. Option 2 is only receiving the pre-approved leads, and option 1 is only working the leads yourself. So yeah, doesn't matter what option you pick. I just need to know. And if you are doing option 3, 1 or 3, which includes you working the leads, you have to work the leads, by the BELP standard, or you won't be able to work the leads anymore. And you can still receive, pre-approved leads, but if you're going to get leads, they have to be worked. So it's whether it's by the ISA working them or you're working them, they have to be worked, and they have to be worked the right way. So it's no big deal. If you can't work them, that's fine. Just know that you can't give you the raw leads anymore. And also too, if you're not working leads anymore, or haven't been working them the right way, we're gonna tag those leads with in KV Core with your name, but then pull them back to the ISA so that they can start working them. And if it was a lead that was yours before, the ISA will, get that lead over to you if they get them pre-approved.
You have that link that we can put in the BELP group again for this one.
Yeah, I put it in the chat here, and then someone, or a sec, someone trying to get in.
Yeah, I got them.
Okay, cool. And then so you want it in the BELP Facebook group.
It's probably already in there, but we'll post it at the top.
Yeah. Book our lead program. Boom. There we go. So yeah, make sure you get that in, because if you don't get that in, then you're not going to get any leads. And yeah, definitely going to have to start pulling the leads from accounts if they're not getting worked. So but like I said, we'll tag them with your info, because if you put energy into them.
Well, and here's the thing, Chris, like you said, I think we draw a line. I think it's okay for the ISA to pull them back, work it, give it back to that person, but at the split, the ISA split.
Yeah, oh yeah, it'll be at the higher
Yeah.
split, but
I don't think it doesn't make any sense to let it sit there and not be worked. And if they
yeah,
into it, that's what the favor we're returning is. Okay, the ISA is going to take over, she's going to convert it, but give it back to you.
yeah. So but yeah, like with Cindy, she's just working the leads herself, and she's working them too. So yeah, for hers, we won't touch hers because she's working them and working them the right way. But for all the others, if you're not working them, yeah, we definitely have to start pulling them back. And but yeah, that's where we're at with the now. Again, working these active leads is going to be kind of one of the missing pieces, I think, that we haven't focused on up to this point. But by understanding that, these are the leads that we're having conversations with, so every day we need to go through and keep nudging those conversations. The rule of thumb I'm using now is if you've done 5, what I call nudges. A nudge is like you send a text and they haven't responded, so you're nudging them to respond. So, the last text might have been, hey, I'm going to set up your home search. What areas are you interested in? If they don't respond back, your next day, your nudge might be, hey, I just wanted to follow back up with you to see what areas you want me to update your home search with, something like that. They don't respond again the next day. You do another nudge. Hey, just, I was working on your home search. Want to get that updated. What areas do you want? So, each time just word it a little bit differently, but you're trying to get them to continue that conversation. And then after, right now we have set at 5 nudges. that if after the fifth time they haven't responded back, that's when you can then just move them over to prospect, and they'll then you won't have to put any more energy into them. The system will do that, work it, and then if they finally respond, then you re-engage with that conversation.
The one thing I can do for the group, Chris, is I'll put together, I don't know in what format, but those nudges, if you have a prospect or a lead that's not responding, I'll send you some hooks, I like to call them, which is like very short little things that is solely intended to get a response from them. We've talked about a couple of them on here. Like, I know the market's crazy. We have shadow inventory. We have thousands of homes that are not on the MLS. Are you interested in seeing them? If so, what areas? So I'll put together some different nudges that they can maybe pick 5 of them as they go. That's going to hit different price points. Because that might get someone to respond. Another one might be, we have great programs. If you need down payment assistance, we have a local lender that's excellent. And so those are little buttons that you might hit where that buyer is not responding for one reason or another. They've either seen everything on the market, they think they have credit problems, they don't have a down payment, stuff like that. So I'll come up with those little just nudges that people can cut and paste.
Well, that'd be perfect. Thank you. So yeah, and like I said, I think this has been one of the pieces that we've been kind of missing. Usually, I'm like, okay, once you start working a lead, start talking with a lead, just do your normal thing. But a lot of agents don't realize what they should be doing. So I'm going to try and make it a little bit more laid out. It's like, okay, you need to get your 5 pertinent pieces of information, and just get them over to the lender, and stuff like that. With you guys working the leads, you can modify it a little bit, where you can, if they want to go look at a house, you can get them in a house and ask the questions there, whereas with the ISA, their role is to get those 5 pieces before getting them over to you. So there's a little bit of difference there. You got a little bit more leeway. Because ultimately your goal is to get them, meet with them face to face, looking at homes, finding out their needs, getting them pre-approved and whatnot. So, yeah, any questions on any of that? I know my computer's been beeping a little bit, so see if there's any.
Yeah, I look, there's no questions in there on the comments.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not seeing it here. Yeah. So, yeah, just make sure if you haven't done so already, you get that form filled out. And once, like I said, we got a list, the rotation list and all that. Now, big thing to keep in mind, the lead flow is going to drop, from your perspective, where if you're used to getting a couple leads a week that you had to work yourself, now you might only get a lead that's pre-approved handed off to you like once a month or once every 2 months even. So you kind of just keep that in mind, that just if you're not hearing from us, it's not that we forgot about you. It's just it takes a while to get the leads scrubbed, pre-approved, and ready to actually be handed off. So that's why too, that we want to pull all the as many leads as we can. I'm gonna pump all the leads of my active leads in the my Sierra database in here, and just churn as much as we can to try and get as many handoffs, pre-approvals and all that as we can. And then, once we get things rolling, start, getting closings, making money, with the program, there's no reason why we can't supplement leads, through pay-per-click, stuff like that, to get more leads coming in, to try and help, bump up that handoff, rate. So, start with might be once every 2 months, and, get things rolling, get more leads, might be able to get, handoffs once a month. Maybe we can get 2 handoffs per month, stuff like that. So, the more success that the agents are with this, the more we're able to put into it to then get more for you guys. And, then it becomes perpetual at that point. So, but
Mike,
yeah,
do you have anything before we start wrapping up?
Just a couple updates, guys. Number one, if I can share my screen,
yep.
talk when you bring up Talk Path. Hold on a second here.
Let me make you co-host.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. 1 second. Share my screen. Okay, what happened yesterday in the market with the consumer confidence index that came out? Let me move the screen. Look at the move yesterday. This is a candlestick of every day's activity in the market on the 10-year treasury and the 30-year treasury. There was a 60 basis point move yesterday, the second candlestick upward. Rates right now are hovering around the 7.25 right now, and depending on their score and their risk, could be higher than that. But the move yesterday brought it back down into the under the 699, 6875 typically, and we're seeing a little bit of movement today. If you want to have talk paths with the customers, you start to monitor where the Fed is going to make the pendulum swing. And on the next meeting, if the reports keep coming out, then there would be another pause on the rates. But when you want to get rates in the 6.5, I don't know if you guys can see my little cursor here.
Yep.
Okay. This line right here is where we need to be to get rates back down to the 6.5. Right there, 6.5 and lower. So just I want to start giving you some updates weekly as to where the market is and how we're monitoring it. And that way you guys just have a little bit of kind of when we're pushing clients to say we're idling them and they want to wait for rates to move up. I mean, guys, this is a very good indicator that if you just go to Rate Alert, I can give you my access and passwords, and you can look at it. What's nice about this report is it's going to give you the updates. It's also going to give you a daily, I don't know why this is idling. It'll give you a daily market video update, just so that you're aware. Where is it? Let me find it here. They don't have it posted yet, but there's a video every day from Brian McNee giving an update. So I'll post that on the chat, the access. If you guys want to have access to it, feel free.
So my question, when can you lock a rate for a buyer?
I can lock a rate. If you look at the mobile apps, we have a lock and shop. We can lock off of a TBD and give a borrower 90 days, a 90-day rate lock off of the TBD. Also, with the rate lock, even if they lock their rate and they find a house, if the markets move in the consumer's favor by at least 1/8%, we can break the lock using the safe harbor policy and float it down to the market rates, so long as we do it 7 days prior to closing. Once you're inside 7 days, it's a blackout period. You cannot make any material changes to the file.
And I'm
So
just
locking now, I just locked 7 clients yesterday, and they're closing within the next 60 days.
okay. Just to clarify, that safe harbor, it's zero cost to them, right? To do the float down.
There's zero cost to the client using our safe harbor policy that we move in the consumer's favor if the markets move at least 1/8%. Better in pricing or better in rate. Now, price, there's a lot of cost to get a rate today. So they may not move the needle on where the note rate is, but maybe it was instead of a 1.5% buy down, now it's only costing 75 basis points to buy it down. We move it in price as well.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. But I'll start posting these weekly just to give you guys just the market update on the Wednesday meetings. And then next, just a couple updates. Stacy, I need 10 agents identified, preferably in different MSAs. We're going to start doing the co-marketing with the LOMAs, the loan officer marketing assistants. Basically, you have a free marketing assistant that will do all of your Facebook posting, all of your social media, all of your open house flyers. You call them, they do it. You don't have to call me. They're a partner between you and I. I need 10 agents identified to start doing co-marketing in the month of September with our Lomas plays. And like I said, preferably in different markets.
Okay, and that's Ohio, just Ohio?
No. Any markets it would be great if I already have a couple identified, as you know, in West Virginia,
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Charlene, West Virginia, but Julie down in Southeast Ohio would be great. Chantel out in Zanesville.
Look at that, Mr.
Awesome.
Nick, always showing up, even though he has no chance of leads right now. You get little Nick is for sure one of our 10. I don't know if you guys, the guy is smiling. He's yeah, for sure.
Okay. So just give me 10 so that we're going to start putting in 10 a month into the Loma program. So let's get me some identified for the month of September. And then lastly, the September 21st meeting in Cleveland with Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac is coming in. NAM and the OEMP has invited Freddie Mac. We've partnered with the Cleveland Board of Realtors to do a presentation in independent. I'm sorry, it's not an Independence. I'll get you the address. But it's in Cleveland, September 21st. I really would like to have a large presence, if possible, of our EXP partners. Jim is going to go up with me, I believe, on that date, and I'm going to be introducing him to some key people with Nations, because again, our beta testing on the Loma program and the marketing, as well as the licensed mortgage assistance, all resonates within EXP. So we need to have a strong presence there. I know we got Gypsy up there, but I'm not too familiar with too many agents that you've got in the group, Stacy.
Yep, and I think we are going to move that meeting to our AHA. We're going to move it to the week before, just so that we, because I know a lot of people on here that might want to go up, like to come to that meeting. So
okay, and it's twofold. Freddie Mac is coming in, giving the demographics of the Borrower Smart program, which goes down to a 600 credit score, goes down to a 3% down. It can be from DAP, it can be from gift. It eliminates and removes all of the LLPAs, loan level pricing adjusters that adjust the rate for the risk of the borrower. And the PMI insurance is half of the price of what normal PMI will be. So it is a great program for your outskirt markets, your Zanesvilles, your Clevelands, your Youngstowns, your Chillicothe's, your outskirts markets. It will be a great program because the demographics are ideal, and they will break it down granular as to how many people qualify. So when we talk about talking points, a lot of people think they need to be in credit repair. But why? Because they're at a 600 score and they think they need to be at 640.
Right.
No, you can buy at 600 using this program. So those are the key things, and we'll have it recorded for those that aren't able to come up on the 21st. But those who can, I think you'll be very enlightened as to what the products that Freddie Mac can provide. But that's all I got, Stacy. We're working with Chris and Krista. I love the format in regards to at least everybody can see what the responsibilities are on the files, and Chris has done a great job on that, and we're looking forward to let's get our first 10 people signed up for September.
Perfect. On it. All right, everybody. Chris, if you want to hit the stop recording, or I guess I can. I don't know.
Where are you at?
I think I can get it. I got it, Chris.
Okay.
I saw recording the class.